In the grand tapestry of ancient Egyptian history, a few names shine with an exceptional brilliance, casting long shadows across the millennia. One such name is Sneferu. He was a monarch who stood at the very beginning of what many consider Egypt's golden age. As the first pharaoh of the Fourth Dynasty, a period of unprecedented peace and prosperity, Sneferu's reign marked a pivotal moment. It was a time of immense cultural and architectural transformation. His rule laid the very foundations upon which his successors would build, creating a legacy that would echo through eternity. The name Sneferu itself offers a window into the character of the king and the values of his era. In the ancient Egyptian language, his name translates to "he of beauty" or "to make beautiful." This was not merely a title, but a declaration of intent, a mission statement for his reign. Sneferu sought to bring perfection and order, ma'at, to the world around him. This ambition showed up in administration and governance, and most spectacularly in the colossal stone monuments he commissioned. His reign heralded the start of the Fourth Dynasty, a lineage of kings who would oversee the zenith of the Old Kingdom. This period is remembered for monumental construction, especially the Great Pyramids. Sneferu was the patriarch of this dynasty of giants. He was the father of Khufu, the builder of the Great Pyramid of Giza. But before Khufu could build his wonder, Sneferu had to master pyramid building first. He embarked on a journey of trial and error on an astonishing scale. In this exploration of Sneferu's life, we will journey back over 4,500 years. We will uncover the story of the man behind the monuments. We will examine his family. We will trace his rise to power. We will estimate the length of his influential reign. We will delve into the architectural evolution under his watch. Meidum, the bent pyramid, the red pyramid. We will also investigate his foreign policies. We will examine his economic strategies and how he financed these feats, and how he secured Egypt's place as a dominant power in the ancient world. Before Sneferu, the royal tomb of a pharaoh was typically a step pyramid. The most famous example is the Step Pyramid of Giza at Saqqara, designed by the brilliant architect Imhotep. This earlier structure was essentially a series of stacked mastabas, rectangular tombs, one on top of the other, creating a stairway to the heavens. While revolutionary, it was not the smooth, geometric shape we associate with the classic pyramid. Sneferu inherited this tradition, but was not content to simply replicate the past. He harbored a far grander vision that would require immense resources and daring innovation. His ambition? To create a true, smooth-sided pyramid. To be a perfect gleaming structure representing the primordial mound and the sun god Ra. This was a monumental challenge in design and in logistics. No one had attempted such a feat before. It demanded rethinking construction, starting with quarrying, transporting massive stone blocks, calculating precise angles for stability. Sneferu's reign became a laboratory of architectural experimentation, successes, failures. Throughout this documentary, we will examine his building program. We begin at Meidum, an existing step pyramid transformed, possibly catastrophically collapsed. Then to Dashur, the royal necropolis, the bent pyramid, a visible change in engineering plans midway through construction. Builders grappling with structural instability. Finally, the red pyramid, his ultimate masterpiece, the world's first successful, true, smooth-sided pyramid, a testament to Sneferu's persistence and decades of architectural evolution. It secured his legacy. It provided the blueprint for his son Khufu to build the Great Pyramid of Giza. Join us as we piece together the story of Sneferu, the king who learned from his mistakes and perfected the pyramid. Sneferu's path to becoming the ruler of the two lands was not a straightforward inheritance. He was not the direct offspring of his predecessor, Huni, the last king of the Third Dynasty. Instead, his legitimacy came through a strategic marriage. He married Hatshepsut, believed to be a daughter of Huni. This union served as a crucial bridge between the old dynasty and the new, ensuring a stable transition. By marrying a royal princess, Sneferu, with obscure parentage, linked himself to the divine bloodline and cemented his claim. His rise began the Fourth Dynasty, an era of power, wealth and architectural grandeur. He didn't just inherit a kingdom, he inaugurated an era. His reign centralized power and created an efficient administration to mobilize resources and manpower. He established a new court and necropolis at Dashur, leaving the old centers at Saqqara and Meidum. The move signaled a fresh start and a break from Third Dynasty traditions. Sneferu reshaped Egypt. He used ideology and architecture to express royal authority. Stability and prosperity were means to a grander goal. He projected the pharaoh as a divine, living god, absolute and eternal. That vision was recorded in papyrus scrolls and more visibly in millions of tons of limestone, monuments to his ambition and piety for millennia to come. Determining the exact length of Sneferu's reign is a challenge. The Turin King list credits Sneferu with a reign of 24 years. For many years, this was the accepted length. However, more recent discoveries have led many experts to believe that Sneferu ruled for much longer. Inscriptions found at his Red Pyramid at Dashur mention the year of the 15th occasion of the cattle count. If this count occurred every 2 years, the 15th count would correspond to the 30th year of his reign, providing a more plausible window for his extensive building projects. Today, many scholars propose a reign of at least 30 years, with some suggesting it could have extended to as long as 48 years. Sneferu's family life was central to the stability. His principal wife was Queen Hatshepsut I. The magnificent and beautifully preserved funerary equipment found within her tomb offers a breathtaking glimpse into the wealth and craftsmanship of Sneferu's court. Sneferu fathered a significant number of children. Many of his sons were appointed to the highest offices. The twin statues of Rahotep and his wife Nofret are renowned for their lifelike appearance, with inlaid crystal eyes that seem to gaze out across the millennia. The succession of a pharaoh was a matter of supreme importance. The heir became Khufu. Khufu was Sneferu's son with his principal queen, Hatshepsut I. That parentage gave Khufu an unimpeachable claim to the throne. Growing up, Khufu was immersed in monumental construction culture. He witnessed immense logistical challenges. He saw engineering dilemmas. He saw the triumphs of Sneferu's projects. Sneferu had done the hard experimentation. Sneferu provided the perfected blueprint for a true pyramid. He literally and figuratively laid the foundation for the Great Pyramid of Giza. Sneferu's architectural journey began at Meidum. A mysterious, dramatic structure dominates the desert. The Meidum Pyramid today looks like a colossal stone tower ringed by a mountain of rubble and sand. It likely began as a step pyramid by Huni. Sneferu took over and enlarged it, then attempted to fill the steps with packing stones and encase it in polished Tura limestone. But something went terribly wrong at Meidum. One of the leading theories points to a fundamental design flaw. They built the outer casing on an unstable foundation of sand. This structural instability would have been a disaster waiting to happen. Whatever the true cause and timing, Meidum was a failure, but it was a crucial failure from which Sneferu would learn important lessons. It was the first major experiment in learning how to build a perfect pyramid. Having learned from the disaster at Meidum, Sneferu moved his building operations north to Dahshur. Here he began his second Great Pyramid, the Bent Pyramid. This pyramid is unique for its distinctive change in angle partway up its height. The lower section rises at a steep and ambitious angle of 54 degrees. However, about halfway up, the builders made a sudden and dramatic change. The angle of incline was abruptly reduced to a much safer and more gentle 43 degrees. The most widely accepted theory is that the steep initial angle was proving to be structurally unstable. Cracks likely began to appear in the walls. Faced with the very real possibility of a second collapse, the architects made the pragmatic decision to reduce the angle. The Bent Pyramid is remarkable because it is one of the best preserved pyramids, retaining a large portion of its original polished limestone casing. This gives us a fantastic impression of how these ancient monuments would have originally looked. After the near failure of the Bent Pyramid, Sneferu was not deterred. He immediately commissioned a third and final Great Pyramid. The Red Pyramid would be the culmination of his life's work. For the Red Pyramid, they chose a safe, shallow angle of 43 degrees from the start, the same successful angle used for the Bent Pyramid's top portion. That conservative angle ensured incredible stability. The Red Pyramid rises to a height of 105 meters, making it the third largest pyramid in Egypt. It is surpassed only by the Pyramid of Khufu and by the Pyramid of Khafre. Its construction represents the moment engineers finally mastered true pyramid building. The Red Pyramid is a testament to Sneferu's persistence. It was the world's first successful, large-scale, smooth-sided, true pyramid, and it became Sneferu's final resting place. A pharaoh's duty extended far beyond monumental construction. It was about maintaining Ma'at, the divine order. That included protecting Egypt's borders. Sneferu's reign was marked by assertive foreign policy. The Palermo stone records that Sneferu launched a major campaign against the Libyans. The Palermo stone gives numbers. Sneferu's armies captured 1,100 prisoners and 13,100 head of cattle. To the south lay Nubia, rich in gold, exotic goods and manpower. Sneferu also campaigned south to secure those resources. The campaign established Egyptian dominance over Lower Nubia and opened trade and extraction of wealth. Beyond military campaigns, Sneferu's foreign policy was heavily focused on trade. To solve this, Sneferu looked north to the Levant. The Palermo stone records that the king dispatched a fleet of 40 ships filled with cedar wood. Sneferu also fostered expeditions to the Sinai Peninsula. The Sinai was rich in valuable minerals, particularly turquoise and copper. Inscriptions bearing Sneferu's name have been found at Wadi Magarer, show the pharaoh smiting an enemy, symbolizing his dominion over the region. The Egyptian economy was a highly centralized command economy, a redistributive economy. A vast bureaucracy of scribes and officials meticulously recorded agricultural output. This collected wealth was the engine that powered the state. These were not slaves, but skilled craftsmen and rotational labourers compensated with rations. They were well fed, housed in purpose-built towns, and received medical care, indicating they were valued and essential. In the final analysis, Sneferu's reign stands as a monumental turning point. He was more than just a builder of pyramids, he was the architect of an era. His legacy is etched not only in the millions of tons of stone he commanded, but also in the very fabric of the Fourth Dynasty's power and prosperity. Unlike many pharaohs who were feared, Sneferu was remembered fondly by later generations as a benign and wise ruler. His reign was looked back upon as a time of greatness and benevolent authority. He bequeathed to his son, Khufu, not just a perfected pyramid design, but a kingdom at the absolute zenith of its strength. A wealthy, well-organized and powerful state ready to embark on the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. He was the king who mastered the pyramid, the father of the most powerful dynasty of the Old Kingdom, and the visionary who laid the foundations upon which the very pinnacle of Egyptian civilization was built, securing his place as one of the most important and impressive pharaohs ever to rule the land of the Nile. Egypt, a land of enduring mystery. The great river Nile carves its path. It has been the lifeblood of this nation. For millennia, civilizations have flourished here. On the Nile's west bank, near Luxor, ancient Thebes once stood in majesty. This was the traditional domain of the departed, a sacred landscape for tombs and temples. Here, nestled within a sun-scorched bay, lies the site known as Deir el-Bahri. Dramatic limestone cliffs rise sheer and stark. They form a natural, imposing amphitheatre. The desert sun beats down with fierce intensity, creating a scene of desolate beauty. This was a place chosen for sacred monuments, a location that speaks of power and eternity. Within this breathtaking natural theatre stands a structure. It is the mortuary temple of Queen Hatshepsut. Its pale colonnades gleam against the golden rock, a striking contrast of human artistry and nature. The ancient Egyptians called it Djeser Djeseru. This name translates to Holy of Holies, or perhaps the Sublime of the Sublimes. Its visual impact remains undiminished by time. Even now, thousands of years later, visitors are struck by its profound grandeur. A palpable sense of awe fills the air. The temple seems to transcend mere stone. It is a bridge to a distant, powerful past, a testament to ambition and faith. It stands as a silent, majestic guardian, guarding the secrets of a long-lost era. The mortuary temple of Hatshepsut is rightly famed. It is considered a masterpiece of ancient architecture. Its design was revolutionary for its time, breaking from many established traditions. The architect Senenmut showed great ingenuity. He created a structure of enduring beauty, one that harmonizes perfectly with its surroundings, a building that seems to grow from the cliffs. The temple is arranged on 3 ascending terraces. These broad courts are linked by central ramps. Graceful colonnades line the facades of each level, creating elegant patterns of light and shade. This terrace design was a bold innovation. It allows the temple to merge with the cliff face. It appears almost as a natural extension of the rock, a truly inspired and breathtaking architectural vision. Constructed primarily from gleaming white limestone, the temple would have shone brilliantly under the sun. Its construction was a monumental undertaking, requiring vast resources and skilled labor. Thousands of artisans, sculptors and workers toiled to carve the intricate reliefs and towering statues. The sheer scale of the complex is awe-inspiring, reflecting the immense power of the pharaoh. Today, Hatshepsut's temple continues to captivate. It offers invaluable insights into ancient Egypt, into their sophisticated beliefs about the afterlife, their extraordinary architectural and artistic skills, and into the reign of a powerful female ruler. It stands as a vital historical document, its message carved enduringly into stone, a legacy that has weathered the sands of time. The magnificent temple did not spring into existence overnight. Its construction began early in Hatshepsut's reign, likely around her 7th regnal year, circa 1473 BCE. This was a period of stability and growing ambition. Hatshepsut, now firmly established as pharaoh, sought to leave an indelible mark on Egypt's sacred landscape. A monument that would speak of her power and piety, a structure to rival those of her male predecessors. The vision for Djeser is often credited to one man, Senenmut, Hatshepsut's trusted steward and architect. He was a figure of immense influence and talent, overseeing many of the Queen's most ambitious projects. Some scholars suggest a close personal relationship beyond that of a queen and her loyal official. His genius lay in understanding Hatshepsut's desires and translating them into breathtaking architectural reality. The choice of Deir el-Bahari was deeply significant. This bay in the Theban cliffs already held sacred importance. It was adjacent to the mortuary temple of Mentuhotep II, a revered pharaoh from the Middle Kingdom. Hatshepsut consciously linked herself to this great unifier. The site was also considered sacred to the goddess Hathor, a powerful deity associated with love, beauty, and the afterlife. This location provided a dramatic, almost theatrical backdrop. The scale of the undertaking was truly monumental. It was to be a temple unlike any seen before in Egypt. Vast resources were marshalled for its creation. Labor, materials, and artistic skill were all required. Hatshepsut was not merely building a temple. She was crafting a powerful statement of her divine right. Her legitimacy as pharaoh would be carved into its very stones, a legacy intended to endure for all eternity. The construction of Hatshepsut's temple was a colossal effort. It demanded a vast and highly organized workforce. Thousands of individuals contributed their skills and labor. Skilled stonemasons meticulously shaped the limestone blocks. Artisans carved intricate reliefs and painted vibrant scenes. Engineers and foremen oversaw the complex logistics. Scribes kept detailed records of progress and expenditure. It was a city of workers, dedicated to a singular vision. The primary material was fine white limestone, quarried from Tura on the opposite bank of the Nile. This stone gave the temple its dazzling appearance, gleaming brightly under the powerful Egyptian sun. Red granite was imported from Aswan for doorways and statues. Sandstone was also used for certain structural elements. Transporting these massive blocks was an immense challenge, requiring ramps, rollers, and sheer human effort. The precise duration of the temple's construction remains debated. Most Egyptologists estimate it took around 15 years, a significant portion of Hatshepsut's 22-year reign. Work likely progressed in phases, terrace by terrace, starting with the lower levels and gradually ascending. Each ramp and colonnade meticulously aligned, the vast courts slowly taking shape against the cliffs, a testament to careful planning and sustained effort. The engineering challenges were considerable for the time. Creating the broad, stable terraces required ingenuity, cutting and fitting the enormous stone blocks precisely, ensuring the structural integrity of the colonnades, the intricate carving of countless reliefs and hieroglyphs, depicting scenes of divine birth, trade expeditions, and religious rites. All this was achieved with tools of copper and stone, a remarkable feat of ancient skill and perseverance. Hatshepsut's temple housed shrines dedicated to key deities, integrating her mortuary cult with Thebes' religious landscape. Notable shrines include the Hathor shrine, with columns carved as Hathor's head, and the Anubis shrine. The Amun-Ra sanctuary on the uppermost terrace featured exquisite painted reliefs. These shrines ensured divine favor for Hatshepsut in her afterlife. Hatshepsut's mortuary temple stood as a glorious monument, but her tomb was hidden. The temple was for her cult, sustaining her spirit in the afterlife. However, it was not her final resting place. Hatshepsut sought a hidden burial in the Valley of the Kings. The valley offered secrecy, vital for protecting royal mummies. For centuries, Hatshepsut's tomb remained an enigma. Archaeologists scoured the hills, yet her mummy eluded them. Speculation abounded regarding her ultimate fate and burial. Some wondered if her tomb had been destroyed, while others believed it lay undiscovered. The search for her was a significant missing piece in Egyptian history. Thutmose III attempted to erase Hatshepsut from historical records. Her statues were defaced, her cartouches removed, raising questions about her tomb. The quest to find her became an attempt to restore a powerful figure. The Valley of the Kings held many secrets. Each discovery offered hints, but no definitive answers. Early explorers documented tombs, yet none were Hatshepsut's. The search required patience, research, and luck. The world awaited the moment her sanctuary would yield its secrets. The quest to identify Hatshepsut's mummy was reignited in the early 21st century. Dr. Zahi Hawass spearheaded a new initiative to locate missing royal mummies. Hatshepsut was high on the list of priorities. The team focused on 2 female mummies in KV60. One was in the Cairo Museum, the other still in KV60. Could one of these anonymous women be the lost queen? The investigation began with modern technology. The mummy in KV60 was brought to the Cairo Museum. Both mummies underwent CT scans. The scans revealed crucial details. One mummy, KV60A, was elderly and missing a molar. The other, KV60B, was Hatshepsut's royal wet nurse. A wooden box inscribed with Hatshepsut's cartouche was found. Inside was a single mummified molar tooth. The CT scan of KV60A revealed an empty tooth socket. The tooth from the box was a perfect fit. In June 2007, it was announced that KV60A was Hatshepsut. The discovery was a major archaeological triumph. Hatshepsut's remains were finally given their royal due. Hatshepsut's temple played a crucial part in Thebes' beautiful festival of the valley, celebrating rebirth and renewal. The festival reaffirmed the divine order and the power of Amun-Ra. The bark of Amun-Ra crossed the Nile to Hatshepsut's temple. Special rituals honored Amun-Ra and Hatshepsut. The festival transformed the West Bank into a vibrant landscape of divine encounter. The sacred life of Hatshepsut's temple was not confined to grand annual festivals. It pulsated with a continuous rhythm of daily devotion and ritual activity. A substantial community of priests and temple staff ensured its constant operation. Their unwavering service was essential to maintaining the sanctity of the complex. They also ensured the well-being of the Queen's spirit in the afterlife. These daily duties were performed with meticulous care, following ancient protocols. This ensured that the temple remained a potent conduit between the earthly and divine realms. The air itself would have been thick with incense, murmured prayers, and the quiet efficiency of sacred duty. Each day began with purification rituals for the priests themselves. They would then proceed to awaken the divine presence within the temple's sanctuaries. This involved opening the shrine doors, a symbolic act of bringing the deity forth. Offerings of food, drink, flowers and fine linens were presented before the statues of Hatshepsut and the other gods worshipped there. Incense was burned to purify the air and please the divine senses. Hymns and sacred texts were recited, praising the deities and invoking their protection and favour. These were not mere symbolic gestures. They were considered vital for sustaining the cosmic order and the pharaoh's eternal life. While dedicated primarily to Hatshepsut's mortuary cult, Djeser-Djeseru also housed important shrines for other significant deities. The magnificent chapel dedicated to Hathor, the goddess of love, beauty and the West, was a prominent feature. Another shrine honoured Anubis, the jackal-headed god of mummification who guided souls to the underworld. Above all, the uppermost sanctuary was consecrated to Amun-Ra, Hatshepsut's divine father and the king of the gods. The worship of these deities was seamlessly integrated into the temple's daily life. This ensured a harmonious relationship with the entire Egyptian pantheon, further sanctifying Hatshepsut's own divine status and legacy. Therefore, the temple was far more than a static monument to a deceased ruler. It was a vibrant, functioning institution, a hive of religious activity and meticulous care. Its operation required significant resources. Land endowments provided agricultural produce for offerings. Workshops produced sacred oils, incense and linens. Scribes maintained detailed inventories and records of temple activities. The sheer scale of this daily enterprise underscores the immense importance placed on the afterlife. It highlights the pharaoh's role in maintaining Ma'at, the divine order. Hatshepsut, sublime of the sublimes, was truly a living house of eternity, sustained by ceaseless devotion. After Hatshepsut's reign, Thutmose III took power. He began erasing her memory from records. Statues were defaced, names removed. Her temple bore the brunt of this campaign. The reasons remain debated by historians, but the impact on her legacy is clear. Centuries after Hatshepsut, Egypt faced the Amarna period under Akhenaten. He promoted the Aten, suppressing traditional gods. Temples of Amun-Ra were defaced. Hatshepsut's temple suffered greatly. Akhenaten's death saw restoration efforts. Temples were repaired, but scars remained. Later periods brought new challenges. Hatshepsut's temple faced neglect and quarrying. It faded into the sands of time. Under Greek rulers, Egypt saw a renewed interest in ancient traditions. The Ptolemies presented themselves as successors to the pharaohs. They restored many older temples. Deir el-Bahari saw minor cultic activity and adaptive reuse. Its grand pharaonic religious life was long past. The site remained a powerful reminder of a bygone golden age. Over time, the temple complex was gradually abandoned. The desert winds began to reclaim the structure. Sand accumulated in its courts and against its colonnades. The vibrant paint on its reliefs faded under the relentless sun. The precise details of its decline into ruin are scarce. Its original function as a mortuary temple ceased. The ancient gods fell silent within its once hallowed halls. With the spread of Christianity, many ancient temples were repurposed. Deir el-Bahari attracted a new faith. A Coptic Christian monastery was established within the ruins. This monastery became known as the Monastery of St. Foibamon. The area gets its Arabic name, Deir el-Bahari. This name translates to Monastery of the North. The ancient stones were given a new sanctity. The monks occupied parts of Hatshepsut's temple for centuries. They adapted the ancient structures to suit their needs. Walls were built, and some reliefs were covered with Christian paintings. Shrines once dedicated to Egyptian gods became chapels for Christian worship. This period of Coptic occupation further altered the temple's appearance. Eventually, this monastery too was abandoned, likely by the 11th century. The temple then lay largely forgotten by the outside world, waiting for its rediscovery and meticulous excavation in the modern era. For centuries, Hatshepsut's temple lay hidden, obscured by desert sands and later structures. Its vibrant life had faded and its true identity was forgotten. Local inhabitants knew of the ruins, but their splendor remained concealed. Early explorers like Richard Pocock documented their observations in the 18th century. Napoleon's expedition and later scholars like Champollion and Lepsius recognized its significance. Their work laid the foundation for future research, bringing ancient Egypt to a global audience. The stage was set for systematic efforts to unveil its buried secrets. The mid-19th century marked a shift towards systematic archaeological work in Egypt. Auguste Mariette founded the Egyptian Antiquities Service in 1858. His efforts curbed uncontrolled digging and protected sites. Mariette began revealing Hatshepsut's temple at Deir el-Bahri. Later, Edouard Neville led extensive campaigns from 1893 to 1906. His team exposed the temple's terraces and colonnades. Neville's work revealed stunning reliefs and the temple's ground plan. Since 1961, a Polish-Egyptian team has undertaken vital restoration work. Their efforts have preserved the monument and uncovered new information. Hatshepsut's temple continues to inspire awe and provide knowledge. The mortuary temple of Hatshepsut, Djeser-Djeseru, stands as a singular achievement, a radiant beacon of ancient architectural ingenuity. Carved into the dramatic Deir el-Bahri cliffs, its beauty remains undiminished. The dream of a remarkable female pharaoh brought to life in stone. Her ambition and connection to the divine resonate from every colonnade, a monument without precise parallel in Egyptian heritage. The harmonious design attributed to Senenmut speaks of a deep understanding of landscape, a testament to an era of peace, prosperity and artistic expression. Its ascending terraces continue to draw the eye and spirit upwards. The journey of this magnificent temple through time is a compelling narrative. It tells a story of grandeur, faith, turmoil and rebirth. From its sacred foundation, it served its queen and the gods of Egypt. Its courts once echoed with the beautiful festival of the valley. Its sanctuaries witnessed the quiet reverence of daily rituals. Then Thutmose III's proscription fell upon its walls, attempting to erase a queen. Later, Akhenaten's reign left its own distinct marks. Centuries of fading light and encroaching desert sands followed, yet the spirit of Djeser-Djeseru endured through all these trials. The rediscovery and excavation unveiled its long-hidden splendor. Early explorers and archaeologists brushed away the debris of centuries. Their efforts revealed the full majesty of its design and reliefs. The soul of Djeser-Djeseru was brought back into the light. Today, international collaborations continue the crucial work. Teams conserve its fragile narratives and reconstruct sections. They piece together the story of Hatshepsut and her era. The temple remains a living archive of ancient Egyptian culture. The mortuary temple of Hatshepsut transcends its identity as an archaeological site. It is a place of profound cultural and historical significance. Visitors from around the world walk its courts with awe. They hear echoes of a sophisticated ancient civilization. The temple stands as an enduring monument to human ambition. It speaks of deep spiritual aspiration and artistic achievement. It is the lasting legacy of the formidable female pharaoh who dared to rule. Her Djeser-Djeseru, the Holy of Holies, stands majestically, a timeless beacon against the Egyptian sands. The sands of time have long concealed the daily lives of those who lived in ancient Egypt. Yet beneath the scorching desert sun, whispers from the past remain. Tombs, adorned with intricate paintings and carvings, offer us a unique window into their world. These vibrant scenes, preserved for thousands of years, provide a glimpse into the lives of ancient Egyptians, including their children. The Egyptians believed in life after death, a realm mirroring their earthly existence. They meticulously decorated their tombs with scenes from their daily lives, hoping to carry these experiences into the afterlife. These images, frozen in time, offer us invaluable insights into their customs, beliefs, and even the games their children played. Stepping into the painted chambers of ancient Egyptian tombs is like stepping back in time. We are transported to a world teeming with activity, where children are not merely passive observers, but active participants in the bustle of daily life. The tombs, particularly those from the Old and Middle Kingdoms, are replete with scenes of children engaging in various activities. These images reveal a society that cherished childhood and recognized the importance of play. Children are often depicted alongside adults participating in chores and celebrations. Their presence in these scenes suggests a close-knit family structure where children were integral members of the household and community. The tomb of Mereruka, a high-ranking official from the Sixth Dynasty, offers a captivating glimpse into the world of ancient Egyptian children. Among the many vibrant scenes adorning its walls, we find depictions of children engaged in playful acrobatics. These agile youngsters twist and contort their bodies into impressive poses, showcasing their flexibility and balance. One scene depicts a group of children forming a human pyramid, their small bodies balanced precariously atop one another. Another shows a young girl gracefully arched backward, her hands touching the ground behind her. These acrobatic displays were not merely forms of amusement. They were likely part of religious festivals and celebrations, adding an element of spectacle and entertainment to these important events. The rock-cut tombs of Beni Hassan, dating back to the Middle Kingdom, provide further evidence of the importance of movement and dance in ancient Egyptian culture. These tombs, carved meticulously into the cliffs, stand as silent witnesses to the vibrant life that once thrived here. The tombs, belonging to provincial governors, feature scenes of children engaged in a whirling dance, their bodies spinning and twirling with joyous abandon. These images capture the essence of youthful exuberance and the communal spirit of the time. Similarly, the tomb of Keti showcases children caught in mid-twirl, their colourful garments swirling around them like vibrant blossoms. The vivid colours and dynamic poses bring these ancient scenes to life, allowing us to glimpse the past. These whirling dances, likely accompanied by music and rhythmic clapping, were not only a form of entertainment but also a way for children to express themselves creatively and connect with their cultural heritage. Through these dances, they celebrated their identity and passed down traditions from one generation to the next, ensuring the continuity of their rich cultural tapestry. The scorching Egyptian sun dictated much of daily life, and clothing was no exception. The intense heat and relentless sun shaped the way ancient Egyptians dressed, influencing their choice of materials and styles. Ancient Egyptian children, much like their adult counterparts, donned light and airy garments suited to the hot climate. These garments were designed to keep them cool and comfortable, allowing them to go about their daily activities without being hindered by the oppressive heat. Linen, a fabric woven from the flax plant, was the material of choice, its breathable nature providing comfort in the sweltering heat. The process of weaving linen was an essential skill, passed down through generations, ensuring that everyone had access to this vital fabric. Young children, particularly boys, were often depicted wearing little to no clothing, their bare skin allowing them to stay cool under the desert sun. This minimalistic approach to clothing was practical and efficient, helping them avoid overheating. Girls, as they grew older, would wear simple linen dresses, often held up by straps over the shoulders. These dresses were not only functional, but also allowed for a degree of modesty as they transitioned into adulthood. These lightweight garments allowed for ease of movement, essential for active children engaged in play and exploration. The freedom of movement provided by their clothing enabled them to fully enjoy their childhood, exploring the world around them without restriction. The ancient Egyptian concept of childhood extended beyond mere survival. It encompassed play and imagination. Archaeological excavations at Kahun, a workers' town associated with the Pyramid of Senusret II, have unearthed a treasure trove of children's toys, providing tangible evidence of their playful pursuits. Among the finds are balls made of woven fibres, their simple construction belying hours of fun spent tossing and catching. Wooden sticks, resembling miniature javelins, hint at games of skill and accuracy, while small carved figurines of animals ignite the imagination, transporting children to a world of make-believe. These toys, simple yet enduring, offer a poignant reminder that the desire for play transcends time and culture. Play in ancient Egypt was not limited to physical activity, it also encompassed games of skill and strategy. These games were an integral part of daily life and were enjoyed by both the young and the old. Board games, in particular, were popular pastimes, enjoyed by people of all ages, including children. These games were often played in the evenings or during festivals, bringing families and communities together. Two of the most well-known ancient Egyptian board games are Senet and Mehen. These games have been discovered in various archaeological sites, indicating their widespread popularity. Senet, a game of strategy played on a long, narrow board with 30 squares, involved moving pieces according to the roll of dice. The game required careful planning and foresight to outmaneuver opponents. The game, often found depicted in tomb paintings, was believed to have religious significance, representing the journey of the soul through the afterlife. It was thought that mastering Senet could help one navigate the challenges of the afterlife. Mehen, named after the snake god, was played on a circular board resembling a coiled serpent. The unique design of the board added an extra layer of complexity to the game. Players would move their pieces around the board, attempting to capture their opponent's pieces. The game required strategic thinking and a deep understanding of the rules to succeed. These games not only provided entertainment, but also honed children's cognitive skills and strategic thinking. They were a vital part of education, teaching important life skills through play. The Nile River, the lifeblood of ancient Egypt, was not only a source of sustenance but also a playground for children seeking respite from the desert heat. Swimming was a popular activity, and tomb scenes often depict children frolicking in the river's cool waters. One scene shows a group of children splashing and playing in the shallows, their laughter echoing through the ages. Another depicts children swimming alongside adults, their bodies sleek and agile in the water. The Nile, despite its inherent dangers, provided a much-needed escape from the scorching sun, offering children a chance to cool off, socialize, and engage in carefree play. The scenes etched into the walls of ancient Egyptian tombs offer us a poignant and enduring glimpse into the lives of children who lived thousands of years ago. These images, imbued with a sense of timelessness, remind us that childhood, with its inherent joys and wonder, transcends time and cultural boundaries. While our knowledge of ancient Egyptian childhood remains fragmentary, these glimpses into their world paint a picture of a society that valued play, creativity, and the importance of family. The toys they cherished, the games they played, and the laughter that undoubtedly filled their days are testaments to the universality of childhood experiences. The early 19th century was a time of great curiosity. Egypt, with its silent monuments and sun-bleached sands, drew men from all across Europe. Among them was an Italian man named Giovanni Battista Caviglia. He was not a scholar or a nobleman, but a former sea captain who had spent his life navigating the oceans. He arrived in Egypt with a different kind of purpose. He wanted to understand, not just to take. Born in Genoa in 1770, his years as a merchant sailor gave him a practical mind and a steady hand. He was a patient man, used to long voyages and careful planning. Unlike many contemporaries, Caviglia was fascinated by the structures themselves. He saw pyramids as immense puzzles, preferred small tools to dynamite, listened to the stones, and worked with slow, methodical care. A quest not for fame, but a personal connection to the past. In these years, Napoleon's savants and new decipherments stirred Europe. Egypt promised answers buried beneath wind and time, mysteries a patient eye could untangle. Caviglia landed at Bulak Quay, bartering in many tongues, hiring fellahin and craftsmen, learning Cairo's rhythm before turning his steady gaze toward Giza. He kept notebooks of winds, tools, and costs. He spoke of listening to the stone, testing sands with a rod, tracing faint tool marks by lamplight. Caviglia set his base at the eastern face, a scatter of ropes, baskets, lamps and ledgers, turning the sand into a workshop of patience. He divided the day into watches, like a ship's log. At dawn, he checked tools, counted baskets, and noted wind, heat, and the temper of the crews. The descending corridor was his proving ground, packed with chips and dust from centuries. He ordered narrow baskets so men could pass without bruising the limestone. Step by careful step, the floor reappeared. He recorded the slope with a plumb line and cord, writing the angle beside a charcoal mark on the wall. Where the air turned stale, he tested a candle, then arranged a relay of fans at the mouth, coaxing a slow draft downward. He kept the granite plugs in view, immovable guardians wedged above, measuring their faces from below and sketching how debris flowed around them. At the junction with the ascending corridor, he paused the crew, clearing a shelf for tools. He forbade chisels on finished surfaces. Wood wedges and brushes did the work. The well shaft beckoned, narrow, jagged and uncertain. He lowered himself by hemp rope, easing past rotten timbers left by earlier intruders. Inside the shaft, he mapped each change of direction by counting arm lengths, then checked them against a knotted cord back at camp. Foul air rose like an unseen tide. He timed rests, sent up men who coughed, and returned only when the candle burned clean. Below, the passages opened to the unfinished chamber, a place of raw stone. Pick marks hung like frozen strokes. The floor was rough, the plan abandoned. He spread a grid with string and pegs in the sanded patches, measuring spans, depths, and the drafts left by the ancient work. In his notebook he wrote of water seeping in winter, of bat dust, and of how the shaft might have offered a hidden exit for the workers. Each evening he compared sketches, correcting lines under lamplight, and copying the fair versions to share with patrons who asked for certainty. He studied tool marks, broad at first, then finer, reading the order of labour as if the walls still echoed with commands. Surface work continued too. He walked the quarry traces, counted casing stone beds, and measured the levelling sockets around the base. When visitors asked for marvels, he showed them his measures, a cord, a plumb, and a plan, proof that observation can move mountains more surely than hammers. By season's end, the passages were clearer, the routes safer, and the maps strong enough that others could follow without guesswork. Caviglia left Giza not with treasure but with paths, lines on paper that turned rumour into shape and darkness into rooms one could describe. From that groundwork, Egyptology at the Great Pyramid took a steadier step, built not on blasts, but on the quiet courage of patient days. In 1817 to 1818, with support from Henry Salt, Giovanni Battista Caviglia began systematic clearance at the Great Sphinx of Giza. At first light, he surveyed the plateau, fixed a working line, and marked a base around the monument. He organised crews of fellahin with baskets and ropes, cut low ramps in the drift, and set a windlass. Loads were tallied in a ledger so progress could be measured, not guessed. Ropes were checked for knots and wear, pulleys kept true. In hollows, he used a candle test for air before sending men below. Work proceeded in short, controlled intervals. The scope was practical. Clear down along the breast and forelegs, open the pores, and establish simple drainage channels to divert wind-blown sand away from the working face. Between the pores, the ancient stela was exposed to view. It was cleaned carefully and recorded, its position noted relative to the forelegs. Measurements were taken of principal dimensions, about height at the chest, breadth of the pores, distances to the enclosure wall. Pegs, cords, and a plumb set the lines. Plans and notes were forwarded to Salt. He observed quarry marks on the enclosure walls and recorded masonry repairs and patches from later periods. These details were entered with dates and bearings for later comparison. From the drift he recovered small finds, fragments of offering vessels, beads, and later period objects. Each was listed and bagged with its find spot and depth. Ledgers tracked basket counts by ramp. He noted how sand drifted with prevailing winds and kept channels open to reduce reburial. Maintenance was planned as part of the work. By season's end, the chest and pores stood free, and the depth of the Sphinx enclosure relative to the surrounding plateau was confirmed. Access paths around the forepart were improved. Sketches and sections were copied clean by lamplight, with dates 1817, 1818, and sent to patrons. Dimensions, bearings, and notes on air, sand and stone were kept together for reference. His record documented the enclosure, forelegs, breast, and the stela's setting. It provided a baseline used by later investigators, including Mariette and, in the next century, Barrés. The work favoured observation before force, measured clearance, controlled access, and routine checks. It turned spectacle into evidence others could test and extend. Under calm twilight, the Sphinx held its place. Caviglia's season left clearer approaches, sound measurements, and a practical file. Later excavations would go further. His baseline remained. Early 1820s. Memphis, Mitrahina, south of Cairo. Caviglia works the ground methodically. Shallow trenches, waterlogged spoil, baskets, ropes, timber braces holding the edges. By chance, the pit opens on a massive limestone form. Prone, low light, raking across carved muscles and royal cartouches. The context aligns near the south gate of the Temple of Ptah, at the edge of the village. With British backing, Giovanni Battista Caviglia sets a measured plan. Crews gather with baskets, ropes and timber. A shallow pit is set. Braces go in before spades. Where water pools, bailing begins. Pumps work when the level allows. He records each stage, depth by knots on cord, soil by layer. Surfaces are shielded with damp cloth and wood shims. No blows on polished stone. From the mud, a red granite figure emerges lying face up. The profile is serene, the scale is colossal. Close-ups confirm cartouches, Usamatra Setepenra, Rameses II. Identification is entered in the ledger and copied clean. Measurements follow. Height at shoulder, breadth across chest, spans of the forearm. Broken feet noted, crown fragments listed as missing. Tool marks are sketched. A simple plan shows pit, braces and a drainage trench. A second copy is prepared for dispatch. Letters cross the Nile to patrons and officials. Interest rises in lifting the statue, yet the ground is soft and the weight immense. For the season, it remains in place. Visitors stand in shade to view the prone giant. Caviglia updates his sheet, date, bearings, water and condition, then files the Memphis notes. By lamplight, he concludes, the Colossus is recorded in situ, identified as Rameses II, and secured for further work. Night settles over Memphis. The record endures, dimensions, names, context. He matters because he chose method over spectacle, observation over force. Caviglia listened first, then moved sand. His corridor clearances the well shaft made safer plain maps. They gave others routes to follow and data they could trust. Grids, pegs, plumb, level, candle tests at dark mouths, careful notes before tools, habits that read like modern field sheets. His pages cross seas, dimensions, slopes, airflow, seeds for later surveyors and early Egyptologists who built upon his lines. We inherit a mixed ledger. He worked in an age of removals, now debated. Yet his documentation advanced understanding and shaped ethics that value context. Today we measure before we move, record before we lift. His patience echoes in our practice. He proved the desert rewards restraint. Let the stones speak, and we, with care and lines, learn to listen. Caviglia's record is practical. Measured clearances at the Great Pyramid, the well shaft mapped by knots and cord, and safe access restored through candle-tested air. At the Sphinx, 1817-1818, he exposed the chest. He exposed the pores, documented dimensions, documented the steeler's setting, and forwarded copies for others to test. At Memphis, early 1820s, he identified a prone colossus of Rameses II, Usamatra Setepenre, logged measurements, logged condition, logged context in situ. His habit was consistent. Grids, pegs, plumb, and notes before tools. Later investigators, Mariette in the 19th century and Barres in the 20th, worked from clearer baselines because his pages travelled. The ledger is mixed by era. Some removals were sponsored, now debated. The value that endures is method, record first, then act. Today, field practice echoes him. Air checks in confined spaces, mapped passages and transparent logs others can audit. Conclusion. Caviglia turned rumour into routes and sites into plans. With patience and lines, he taught the desert to be read. Abydos. The very name evokes a sense of mystery and ancient power, a place where history and myth intertwine. Located on the west bank of the Nile in Upper Egypt, Abydos is one of the oldest and most important archaeological sites in all of Egypt, a cradle of civilization. For millennia, Abydos has been a place of pilgrimage, a sacred ground where ancient Egyptians came to honor their gods and seek a connection to the afterlife. Abydos was more than just a city. It was a symbol of the eternal cycle of life, death and resurrection, a testament to the beliefs of an ancient people. Even today, standing among the ruins of its temples and tombs, one can feel the weight of history and the echoes of a civilization long gone, yet still present in spirit. For it was here, in the sands of Abydos, that the story of ancient Egypt began to unfold, a story that continues to captivate the world. Here, pharaohs were laid to rest, their tombs filled with treasures and offerings for the afterlife, ensuring their journey to eternity. And it was here that the cult of Osiris, god of the underworld and rebirth, took root and flourished, shaping the spiritual landscape of ancient Egypt. Abydos was never truly abandoned, its spiritual significance enduring through the ages. Even after its political and economic power waned, it remained a sacred site, a place where pilgrims continued to come to pay homage to Osiris and pray for his blessings, a tradition that persists to this day. Over the centuries, the sands of the desert slowly encroached upon the city, burying its temples and tombs beneath their protective embrace, preserving them for future generations. But the legacy of Abydos lived on, preserved in the myths and legends passed down through generations of Egyptians, a testament to its enduring influence. It was not until the 19th century that archaeologists began to excavate the ruins of Abydos, uncovering its secrets and revealing the splendor of this once great city, a city that had been lost to time. Today, Abydos is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, its temples and tombs a testament to the ingenuity, artistry and enduring beliefs of the ancient Egyptians, a legacy that continues to inspire awe and wonder. Abydos first rose to prominence in the pre-dynastic period around 3100 BC, when Egypt was in its infancy, a time when the foundations of one of the world's greatest civilizations were being laid. It was during this time that the first pharaohs, rulers who united Upper and Lower Egypt under their rule, chose Abydos as their final resting place, marking it as a site of immense importance. They constructed elaborate tombs known as mastabas, which were rectangular structures with flat roofs and sloping sides, built of mud brick and often decorated with colorful paintings and intricate reliefs. These early tombs were not just places of burial, but also symbols of power and authority, reflecting the pharaoh's divine status. They were filled with grave goods, including pottery, jewelry, weapons and even boats, intended to accompany the deceased into the afterlife, ensuring they had everything they needed for their journey. The tombs at Abydos provide us with invaluable insights into the beliefs, rituals and social structures of these early Egyptians, offering a window into their world. One of the most significant discoveries at Abydos was the tomb of King Jer, one of the earliest pharaohs of the First Dynasty, whose reign marked a pivotal moment in Egyptian history. Jer's tomb was a large and impressive structure surrounded by subsidiary graves for his family and retainers, indicating his high status and the reverence in which he was held. Inside the tomb, archaeologists discovered fragments of Jer's funerary equipment, including a fragment of his arm, which had been ripped off and placed in a separate box, a practice that remains a mystery. The presence of such elaborate tombs at Abydos suggests that the city was already a place of great religious significance in the pre-dynastic period, long before the rise of the pharaohs. It was believed to be the burial place of Webwawet, the jackal god of the dead, who was closely associated with the king and the afterlife, guiding the souls of the deceased. The association with Webwawet, combined with the presence of royal tombs, made Abydos a powerful symbol of death and resurrection, a place where the pharaohs could transition to the afterlife and join the company of the gods, ensuring their eternal life and divine status. As Egypt entered the early dynastic period, around 3000 to 2686 BC, Abydos continued to flourish as a necropolis and a center of religious activity. However, it was during this time that a new cult began to emerge in Abydos, one that would eventually overshadow all others, the cult of Osiris. The origins of Osiris are shrouded in mystery, but he is typically depicted as a mummified king, often with green skin symbolizing rebirth, wearing the atef crown and holding the crook and flail, symbols of kingship and fertility. According to Egyptian mythology, Osiris was a benevolent king who ruled Egypt with his wife Isis. He taught the Egyptians agriculture, law and civilization, but was murdered by his jealous brother, Set. Osiris's death and resurrection became a central myth in Egyptian religion, symbolizing the cycle of life, death and rebirth. His story resonated deeply with the Egyptians, who saw in Osiris a promise of eternal life after death. As the cult of Osiris spread throughout Egypt, Abydos became one of the most important pilgrimage sites in the country, attracting countless devotees. Egyptians from all walks of life flocked to Abydos, hoping to be buried near the god Osiris, or at least to have their names inscribed on stelae or other monuments erected in the sacred precinct. They believed that proximity to Osiris would increase their chances of a favorable judgment in the afterlife. Pilgrims would offer prayers, sacrifices, and votive offerings to Osiris, hoping to gain his favor and ensure their resurrection. The pilgrimage to Abydos was a journey of faith, a chance to connect with the divine and seek solace in the face of death. The spiritual atmosphere of Abydos provided comfort to many. The influx of pilgrims to Abydos had a profound impact on the city. Temples and shrines were built to accommodate the growing number of worshippers. Cenotaphs, symbolic tombs that did not contain the body of the deceased, were constructed by wealthy Egyptians who could not afford to be buried at Abydos but wanted to be symbolically linked to the god. Abydos became a bustling center of religious activity, its streets thronged with priests, pilgrims and merchants. The pilgrimage to Abydos was more than just a religious duty. It was also an opportunity for social and economic exchange. People from different parts of Egypt would converge on Abydos, bringing with them their customs, beliefs and goods. The city became a melting pot of Egyptian culture, a place where ideas were shared and traditions were transmitted, enriching the cultural tapestry of Egypt. In ancient Egypt, the concept of eternity was not just a distant dream, but a tangible reality. The Egyptians built their homes, not just for the living, but also for the afterlife. They believed that the soul would continue to live on, needing a place to reside. Tombs were constructed with meticulous care, designed to last forever. These structures were more than just resting places. They were eternal homes for the departed. The walls were adorned with scenes of daily life, ensuring that the deceased could continue their existence in the afterlife. The belief in an eternal house was deeply rooted in their culture. Every detail, from the architecture to the inscriptions, was meant to provide comfort and security for the soul's journey beyond death. This profound connection between life and death, between the temporal and the eternal, is what made ancient Egyptian civilization so unique and enduring. Their houses for eternity stand as a testament to their unwavering faith in the afterlife. The stones of Abydos tell a story that spans millennia. Each carving, each inscription is a testament to the lives and beliefs of the ancient Egyptians. It's fascinating to think about how these stones have witnessed the ebb and flow of history, standing silent yet eloquent in their endurance. At Abydos, the gods were honored with grand temples and intricate rituals. The ancient Egyptians believed that Abydos was the gateway to the afterlife, a sacred place where they could connect with the divine. The devotion and reverence shown here reflect a deep spiritual connection that transcended daily life. Beyond the famous temples, Abydos is home to numerous other monuments that add to its rich tapestry. From lesser-known chapels to ancient tombs, each structure contributes to the overall significance of this sacred city. These monuments, though perhaps not as renowned, are equally important in understanding the full scope of Abydos's historical and cultural landscape. The legacy of Abydos is not just in its ancient stones, but in the wealth of knowledge it has provided to modern archaeology. Each discovery here has helped piece together the complex puzzle of Egypt's past. The significance of Abydos continues to grow as new findings shed light on the lives and beliefs of those who once walked these grounds. In many ways, the story of Abydos is still being written, one artifact at a time. In the vast, silent desert, where time itself seems to stand still, a great story is etched in stone. Well, it is a story of power, ambition, and a king who sought to live forever. This is the story of Rameses II, a pharaoh of ancient Egypt. He was a man who became a god, a warrior who became a peacemaker, and a builder whose shadow stretches across more than 3,000 years of history. His name echoes through the ages, whispered by the winds that sweep across the Nile Valley. We journey back to an age of gold and grandeur, to understand the world he shaped and the legacy he left behind for all time. We travel to a land defined by the rhythm of the great river Nile. This was ancient Egypt during its New Kingdom period, a time of immense wealth and influence. The pharaohs who ruled from their grand cities were not merely kings. They were seen as living gods on earth, conduits between the mortal world and the divine. They commanded vast armies, they controlled immense resources, and oversaw the creation of monuments that still defy belief. In this world of absolute authority and sacred duty, a young prince was born, destined to become the most celebrated ruler of them all, a king who would earn the title Rameses the Great. To understand this king, we must first understand his world. It was a world of powerful empires, stretching from the sandy lands of Nubia in the south to the great kingdoms of the Hittites in the north. Trade routes were lifelines, carrying gold, timber, and exotic goods across deserts and seas. But these routes were also paths for armies, and conflict was a constant threat on the horizon. A pharaoh had to be Why is this one pharaoh remembered as the Great? The answer lies not in a single achievement, but in the sheer scale of everything he did. His reign was exceptionally long, giving him decades to solidify his power. He presided over a period of stability and prosperity, a golden age for his people. He was a masterful propagandist, using art and architecture to craft his image, as an invincible warrior and as a beloved son of the gods. His name, Rameses, Ra has fashioned him, was carved on countless buildings, so it would never be forgotten. He is perhaps best known as a master builder. From the northern delta to the southern frontier of Nubia, he commissioned construction across the realm. He completed vast halls at Karnak and added to the beauty of Luxor. He founded a new capital, Pi-Rameses, a bustling metropolis filled with palaces, barracks, temples. Most famously, he carved 2 temples out of a mountainside at Abu Simbel, their giant statues standing as eternal guards. But his story is also one of family and diplomacy. He was father to over 100 children. His chief wife, Queen Nefertari, was honoured with her own temple. After a great clash with the Hittites at Kadesh, he did something remarkable. He negotiated the world's first known international peace treaty, ending decades of conflict and ushering in stability. In this quiet exploration, we follow his life, from the glories of his reign to the moment of his death. We will see how he was laid to rest, mummified, entombed in the Valley of the Kings, prepared for the afterlife. We will witness his rediscovery in the modern era, as archaeologists uncovered his tomb, his mummy, and the treasures of his age. This is the story of one man's ambition to be remembered: Ozymandias, the King of Kings. The story of Rameses the Great begins not on a throne, but in the royal courts of a new and powerful dynasty. He was born into a family that was not of ancient royal blood. His grandfather, Rameses I, had been a commoner, a skilled military commander who rose through the ranks to become pharaoh. This military background shaped the entire dynasty. They were soldiers first, pragmatic and determined to restore Egypt's strength after a period of internal turmoil. His father was Seti I, a formidable pharaoh in his own right. Seti was a great warrior and a prolific builder who began many of the projects his son would later complete. From his father, the young Rameses learned the duties of kingship. He would have accompanied Seti on tours of the kingdom, watching as he administered justice and oversaw the construction of temples. He learned that a pharaoh's power was not just inherited, it was demonstrated. It was shown through military victory, through grand architecture, and through a constant visible connection to the gods. As a prince, Rameses received a rigorous education. This was not just about reading and writing the complex hieroglyphic script. His training was designed to create a future king. He learned military strategy and how to command troops. He was taught to wield a bow and to drive a chariot, the most advanced weapon of its time. This was a critical skill for a leader who was expected to lead his armies from the front line of battle. He was one of many royal children, but it became clear early on that he was special. He was not the original heir. His older brother had been destined for the throne, but died young. This twist of fate placed Rameses directly in the line of succession. From that moment, his life was no longer his own. It belonged to Egypt, and his every action was preparation for the day he would become the living embodiment of the god Horus on earth, the protector of his people. The transition of power in ancient Egypt was a sacred and carefully managed process. To prepare his son, Seti I took an unusual step. He appointed Rameses as his co-regent when the prince was still a teenager. This meant that Rameses shared the throne with his father, ruling alongside him. It was the ultimate apprenticeship. He was given real responsibilities, leading parts of the army and overseeing building projects. This practical experience was invaluable. It allowed him to understand the machinery of government, the loyalties of the court, and the immense pressures of leadership long before he had to bear them alone. This public elevation was a deliberate strategy, ensuring that when the time for succession came, the court and the country would see Rameses as the undisputed and rightful heir. When his father, Seti I, passed away, Rameses was around the age of 25. The transition was seamless, a testament to the careful planning that had preceded it. There was no struggle for power, no court intrigue to challenge his claim. He ascended the throne as the third pharaoh of the 19th dynasty, his authority already well established. His coronation would have been a magnificent ceremony, a series of complex rituals designed to confirm his divine status. At the temples of Karnak and Memphis, he was proclaimed king, his new royal name announced to the world. a name that would soon be carved across the entire country. One of his very first acts as sole ruler was to honor his father. He traveled south to Abydos, a sacred city dedicated to the god Osiris, lord of the afterlife. There, he completed the beautiful temple that his father had begun. He made grand offerings. He decreed that his father's memory should be revered forever. This was more than just an act of filial piety. It was a powerful political statement. By showing such devotion to his predecessor, Rameses was reinforcing the legitimacy of his own family's dynasty. He was showing the world that he was a respectful son, a rightful heir, and a pharaoh who understood his sacred duties. With his position as pharaoh secure, Rameses immediately turned his attention to the borders of his empire. A king's first duty was to protect his land, and Egypt's vast wealth was a constant temptation for its neighbors. Early in his reign, Rameses led a military campaign into Nubia to quell a minor rebellion and reinforce Egyptian authority. The reliefs carved to commemorate this campaign show him as a powerful, dominant warrior, easily crushing his enemies, a clear warning to any who might challenge his rule. To the west, Rameses moved decisively. He strengthened forts and garrisons, forming a defensive wall on the western frontier. His actions brought stability. His most significant challenge, however, lay to the northeast. This region was a contested buffer zone between the two great superpowers of the age, the Egyptian Empire and the Hittite Empire. In the second year of his reign, he led his army into Canaan to secure the coastal route. This was a prelude to a much larger conflict, a careful positioning of his forces for the struggle to come. In the fifth year of his reign, Rameses prepared for a decisive move. His aim was the city of Kadesh. Rameses gathered a large army. He divided it into corps. The march was a feat of logistics. He believed surprise could secure a swift victory. His generals advised caution. The pharaoh chose boldness. That choice would shape what came next. A sudden Hittite ambush struck one of these columns. It was a masterstroke of timing. The Hittite chariots struck hard and fast. The Egyptian line wavered and panic spread. In the chaos, Rameses acted decisively. He rallied his personal guard. He drove his chariot straight into the heart of the fight. The scene, as the Egyptians carved it, is cinematic and intimate. The king appears almost alone against the tide. He fights with the ferocity of a god-king. His courage steadied his men. He turned near defeat into a tactical withdrawal that held the field. The battle ended without a decisive annihilation of either side. It was, in short, a stalemate dressed as triumph. Decades of intermittent raids and battles had left both sides wearied. A formal peace treaty was crafted many years later. It survives in copies on clay and stone. The treaty is remarkable for its clarity. It outlines borders and promises of non-aggression. It includes provisions for mutual aid, and even contains the first recorded clause for extradition. The agreement lasted for decades. He used marriages and gifts to bind alliances. For Rameses, it was a crowning achievement. Diplomacy suited his image as much as warfare did. He learned to balance force with talk. In doing so, he secured peace that allowed his building projects and economy to flourish. With the northern borders secured by treaty, Rameses turned his boundless energy inward to a building program of breathtaking scale. He did not just build, he built to overwhelm. Further south, he commanded the creation of his most famous monument, the temples of Abu Simbel. They carved 2 entire temples directly out of a living mountain. 4 colossal seated statues of the pharaoh, each over 20 meters high, were carved into the cliff face. They sit as eternal guardians, a permanent statement of Egyptian power. Nearby, he carved a smaller temple for his great royal wife, Queen Nefertari. Its facade features standing statues of the king and queen, given equal height, an unusual and significant honor. In his own funerary temple, the Ramesseum, it contained another colossal statue of himself, carved from a single block of granite, estimated to have weighed over 1,000 tons. The grand monuments of Rameses II were the product of immense human effort, brilliant organization, and remarkable skill. These workers were not slaves. They were skilled artisans and laborers. Rameses died in his early 90s, an extraordinary age for the ancient world. He had outlived his beloved Nefertari. He had outlived 12 of his own sons. His tomb was looted in antiquity, and to protect his body, ancient priests moved his mummy several times, hiding it in a secret cache. There he lay for nearly 3 millennia, waiting to be found. The rediscovery of his mummy in 1881 was a moment of profound connection with the past. The face of the legendary king was seen once more. Modern science has allowed us to study him, revealing his arthritis, his dental problems, and even the reddish color of his hair. So why does the name of Rameses II echo so loudly through history? The answer is written in the landscape of Egypt. His legacy is one of sheer, overwhelming scale. He was a master of propaganda. He crafted a powerful, consistent image of himself. He repeated that story until it became historical fact. His memory survives because he willed it to. Today, visitors from all over the world gaze in wonder at the serene faces of Abu Simbel. In these moments, they feel exactly what Rameses intended, a sense of awe. His ambition was to conquer time itself. He built his story into the very fabric of his country. The sands of the desert may shift, but the shadow of Rameses the Great remains. His story, etched in stone, continues to be told, a quiet, majestic testament to one man's will to live forever. On the west bank of the Nile, opposite Luxor, lies the Theban necropolis, a city of the dead that has fascinated the world for centuries. Here, pharaohs of Egypt's new kingdom chose their final resting places, with monumental tombs and temples rising from the desert. Among these, one complex stands out for its preservation and dramatic history, Medinet Habu. Medinet Habu's heart is the mortuary temple of Rameses III. Its towering pylons and decorated halls dominate the landscape. Built as a temple of millions of years, it was meant to secure the king's legacy and union with the gods. Its walls vividly recount Egypt's struggle against the Sea Peoples, mysterious raiders who threatened to plunge the world into chaos. Here, Rameses III is immortalized as the savior of Egypt, his victories carved in stone. The mortuary temple of Rameses III is the last monumental temple of the new kingdom, a final statement of Egypt's power and artistry. Modelled after the Ramesseum, it was both a reassurance to his people and a warning to his enemies. By echoing his predecessor, Rameses the Great, Rameses III claimed his place in a legacy of greatness. The temple stands as a bridge to Egypt's glorious past during a time of crisis. Medinet Habu's temple is unique for its fortress-like design, with double walls and a Syrian-style Migdal gate. Built during an age of turmoil, its defences reflect the anxieties of the era: famine, invasion and collapse. The reliefs show Rameses III defending Egypt from sea peoples and Libyan tribes. The temple was both sanctuary and stronghold, embodying the pharaoh's role as Egypt's protector. The temple's walls are a vast historical record, over 7,000 square meters of reliefs. They chronicle not just battles, but ceremonies and daily life, making Medinet Habu a treasure trove for Egyptologists. The Sea People's Wars are depicted in detail, showing the chaos and heroism of Egypt's defense. Without these carvings, much of this pivotal history would be lost. The name Medinet Habu is layered with history. Arabic for City of Habu, possibly linked to a Coptic saint or the deified architect Amenhotep, son of Hapu. His cult's influence may have given the site its enduring name. Ironically, the temple of a warrior king may bear the name of a wise scribe and builder. Medinet Habu's identity reflects centuries of adaptation and memory. Before Rameses III, this land was sacred as Djemme, the site where creation myths placed the burial of the Ogdoad, 8 primordial gods. Early temples here honored the creator god Amun, drawing royal patronage for centuries. Rameses III built his temple atop this holy ground, absorbing its ancient power. In doing so, he linked his legacy to the very origins of creation and renewal. For centuries, Medinet Habu was buried and forgotten, until Napoleon's expedition brought it to light. Artist Vivant Denon was among the first Europeans to document its grandeur, sketching its ruins and reliefs. His work revealed the temple's scale and artistry to Europe, sparking new fascination with ancient Egypt. Denon's illustrations became the world's first glimpse of this lost masterpiece. Decades later, Jean-François Champollion, who deciphered hieroglyphs, visited Medinet Habu. He could finally read the temple's inscriptions, identifying Rameses III and the stories of the Sea Peoples. With Champollion, the temple's silent walls became a living historical narrative. Medinet Habu's voice was restored after millennia of silence. The approach to the temple is pure pharaonic propaganda. Colossal pylons show Rameses III smiting his enemies. Inside, the first court features Osiris statues of the king, symbolizing his divine and eternal role. The royal palace connects directly to the temple, merging the king's earthly and divine identities. From the window of appearances, the pharaoh addressed his people, blending power and piety. Medinet Habu remains a testament to the enduring might and mystery of ancient Egypt. The second pylon of Medinet Habu marks the gateway to the temple's sacred heart. Stepping through, you enter the second court, where the atmosphere shifts to religious solemnity. This perfectly preserved peristyle court, surrounded by colonnades, feels secluded and sacred. The walls are alive with vibrant reliefs, depicting grand religious festivals and processions. Beyond lies the hypostyle hall, its massive columns evoking awe. As you move deeper, the temple narrows and darkens, drawing you closer to the divine. Medinet Habu's walls are more than architecture. They're a vivid chronicle of history. The northern wall's dramatic reliefs show Rameses III's epic battle against the Sea Peoples. These scenes are breathtaking in detail and scope. We see Egyptian soldiers, fierce battles, and the only large-scale sea battle from the New Kingdom. Artists carefully depicted the sea peoples like the feathered Peliset and horned Sheridan. Without these reliefs, our knowledge of this pivotal moment would be almost lost. Attached directly to the southern wall of the mortuary temple's first court lies the faint footprint of a building that served a very different purpose, the royal palace of Rameses III. While only the low stone foundations remain today, they map out a complex that was once a vibrant centre of courtly life. This was the pharaoh's official residence when he was in Thebes, a place for ceremony, administration, and personal relaxation. Its direct connection to the temple was highly symbolic, creating a seamless link between the king's mortal, administrative role and his divine, eternal persona. From here, he could move between his worldly duties and his sacred obligations without ever leaving the sanctity of the fortified enclosure, a physical representation of his dual nature. The palace was constructed primarily of mud brick, which well explains its poor state of preservation compared to the stone temple it adjoined. However, archaeological excavations have revealed a great deal about its layout and function. It contained audience halls, private apartments for the royal family, bathrooms and bedrooms. A key feature was the window of appearances, a raised balcony that opened into the temple's first court. From this window, the pharaoh would appear before his subjects, soldiers and courtiers gathered below. It was a stage for the pageantry of kingship, a place from which Rameses III could bestow honours upon loyal officials and display the spoils of war, reinforcing his status as the supreme and generous ruler of the land of Egypt. Just outside the eastern high gate of the main enclosure lie a series of small, beautifully decorated chapels that add another important historical layer to the site. These are the Sait chapels, which served as the tombs for the gods' wives of Amun from the 25th and 26th dynasties, a period centuries after Rameses III. These powerful women were high priestesses of the Amun cult who held immense religious and political authority in Thebes. Figures like Amenerdes I, Shepenwepet II, and Nitocris I chose to be buried here to be close to the sacred ground of Djemme and the primeval gods, continuing the site's tradition as a place of immense spiritual gravity and prestige for Egypt's elite. These tomb chapels are exquisite examples of the art and architecture of the late period, which often looked back to older styles for inspiration. They are like miniature temples, complete with their own courtyards, offering halls and burial chambers. The quality of the relief carving is exceptionally fine, showcasing a delicate and precise style that stands in contrast to the bolder work of Rameses III's era. The survival of these chapels demonstrates that Medinet Habu remained a focal point for worship and elite burial long after the New Kingdom had ended. It was a place whose sanctity and importance endured through the changing fortunes of dynasties, continually attracting the powerful and pious to its hallowed ground. The story of Medinet Habu does not end with the fall of the pharaohs or the burials of the high priestesses. As the ancient Egyptian religion waned, a new faith began to spread across the Nile Valley Christianity. During the Coptic period, from roughly the 4th to the 7th centuries AD, the massive fortified enclosure of Rameses III's temple offered a perfect sanctuary. Its high walls provided security in an often unstable world, and its expansive courts and halls offered ready-made spaces for a new community to inhabit. The site, once known as Djemme, became a thriving Coptic town, one of the most significant Christian centres in the Theban region. The ancient temple was given a new lease on life, its purpose radically transformed. This later settlement left a profound mark on the monument. The residents built their mud brick houses and workshops directly within the temple's courtyards, their simple dwellings leaning against the colossal hieroglyph-covered walls. Soot from their cooking fires blackened the ceilings of ancient halls, and doorways were cut into sacred chapels. Most dramatically, the great second court, the Court of the Feasts, was converted into a large Christian basilica. Columns were rearranged and an altar was erected. The vibrant reliefs depicting pharaonic festivals were covered over with plaster and painted with images of Christian saints, a powerful symbol of one world being built directly upon the foundations of another, a new sacred narrative overwriting the old one. Medinet Habu is far more than a collection of ancient ruins. It is a living chronicle of human history, where echoes of empires and faiths converge. Its story begins on a sacred mound, finds power in the ambition of Rameses III, and endures through centuries of change. The mortuary temple stands as a defiant roar from the New Kingdom, its walls preserving the dramatic saga of the Sea Peoples and the Pharaoh's legacy. Here we walk the same processional paths as the ancients, surrounded by stories carved in stone. Medinet Habu's layers, from pharaohs to Coptic Christians, reveal a place never abandoned, always repurposed. Its legacy is survival of a kingdom, a king's name, and a sacred ground that endures as a silent witness to the rise and fall of civilizations. Today, Medinet Habu inspires as a timeless monument to the resilience of the human spirit, a story written in stone for the world to read. Cleopatra VII was born in 69 BC, the daughter of Ptolemy XIV Auletes, the pharaoh of Egypt. Her family, the Ptolemies, were of Macedonian Greek origin, descendants of one of Alexander the Great's generals. Despite their heritage, the Ptolemies embraced Egyptian culture, and Cleopatra, unlike many of her predecessors, learned the Egyptian language and customs. Cleopatra ascended to the throne in 51 BC at the age of 18, ruling jointly with her younger brother Ptolemy XIII. However, the young queen's reign began amidst political turmoil. Egypt was a wealthy prize, coveted by Rome, the rising power in the Mediterranean. Cleopatra's early years on the throne were marked by power struggles with her brother and his advisors. The young queen, however, possessed a sharp intellect and a keen understanding of politics. She was determined to secure her position and restore Egypt to its former glory. The joint rule of Cleopatra and Ptolemy XIII was fraught with tension. The young pharaoh's advisors, particularly the eunuch Pothinus and the general Achillas, sought to sideline Cleopatra and consolidate their own power. In 48 BC, they succeeded in forcing Cleopatra from Alexandria, the capital of Egypt. Exiled and facing the loss of her throne, Cleopatra refused to accept defeat. She gathered an army in southern Egypt, determined to reclaim her birthright. Meanwhile, a new player entered the Egyptian stage. Julius Caesar, the powerful Roman general, arrived in Alexandria, pursuing his rival, Pompey the Great. Cleopatra saw an opportunity in Caesar's arrival. She famously smuggled herself into Alexandria, reportedly hidden in a rug, to plead her case directly to the Roman general. Caesar, impressed by her intelligence and charisma, agreed to support her claim to the throne. Caesar's intervention in Egyptian affairs led to a brief but fierce conflict known as the Alexandrian War. Caesar, with Cleopatra's forces, faced the army of Ptolemy XIII. The war culminated in a decisive battle on the Nile River, where Ptolemy's forces were routed, and the young pharaoh himself drowned while trying to escape. With her enemies vanquished, Cleopatra was restored to the throne, now ruling jointly with her even younger brother, Ptolemy XIV. However, it was clear that Cleopatra was the true power in Egypt. her position secured by the presence of Caesar and his legions. Caesar remained in Egypt for several months, captivated by Cleopatra's intelligence and charm. Their relationship, both political and personal, would have profound consequences for both Egypt and Rome. In 47 BC, Cleopatra gave birth to a son, Ptolemy Caesar, known to history as Caesarion, widely believed to be Caesar's son. Cleopatra's relationship with Caesar was multifaceted. It was a strategic alliance, securing her position on the throne and providing her with the backing of the most powerful man in the Roman world. Caesar, in turn, benefited from Egypt's wealth and resources, crucial for his ongoing campaigns. Beyond politics, however, their relationship was also one of mutual attraction and intellectual companionship. Cleopatra, fluent in several languages and well-versed in philosophy and the arts, was a captivating conversationalist. Caesar, for his part, was drawn to her intelligence, ambition, and regal bearing. Their affair caused a scandal in Rome, where Caesar's enemies seized upon it as evidence of his growing ambition and disregard for Roman tradition. Cleopatra, however, remained unfazed by Roman gossip. She accompanied Caesar to Rome in 46 BC, where she was received with a mixture of curiosity and disapproval. Section 5. The Queen and the General, Cleopatra and Mark Antony. After Caesar's assassination in 44 BC, Cleopatra returned to Egypt. The Roman Republic was plunged into civil war, and Cleopatra carefully watched the unfolding events. She knew that Egypt's fate was closely tied to the outcome of the Roman power struggle. One of the key figures in the post-Caesar Roman world was Mark Antony, Caesar's close friend and loyal general. In 41 BC, Antony summoned Cleopatra to Tarsus in modern-day Turkey to answer for her alleged support of his enemies. Cleopatra, ever the strategist, saw this as an opportunity to forge a new alliance with a powerful Roman leader. She arrived in Tarsus in grand style, sailing up the Cydnus River on a lavishly decorated barge dressed as the goddess Aphrodite. Antony, known for his love of luxury and spectacle, was completely captivated. Section 6. The Eastern Dream, Cleopatra and Antony's Ambitions. Cleopatra and Antony's relationship quickly blossomed into both a passionate love affair and a strategic alliance. They shared a vision of a powerful Eastern empire, with Egypt at its heart, challenging the dominance of Rome. Cleopatra provided Antony with financial and military support, crucial for his campaigns against Caesar's assassins and his rivals for power in Rome. Their alliance, however, was viewed with suspicion and hostility in Rome. Antony's enemies portrayed Cleopatra as a manipulative seductress, bent on ensnaring him and using him to further her own ambitions. Antony's public pronouncements, including his decision to bestow upon Cleopatra and their children territories in the east, further fueled these suspicions. Despite the growing opposition in Rome, Cleopatra and Antony continued to consolidate their power in the east. Cleopatra bore Antony 3 children twins, Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selina, and another son, Ptolemy Philadelphus. While Cleopatra and Antony were building their power base in the east, a new threat was emerging in Rome. Octavian, Caesar's great-nephew and adopted heir, was steadily consolidating his own power. Octavian, a shrewd politician and a ruthless strategist, skillfully exploited Roman anxieties about Antony's relationship with Cleopatra and his perceived Easternization. He presented himself as the defender of Roman tradition and virtue, portraying Antony as a traitor, bewitched by a foreign queen. The conflict between Antony and Octavian escalated into open warfare in 32 BC. Octavian declared war on Cleopatra, skillfully framing the conflict as a war against a foreign enemy rather than a civil war against a fellow Roman. The decisive clash between the forces of Cleopatra and Antony and those of Octavian took place in 31 BC at the Battle of Actium, off the western coast of Greece. The battle was a naval engagement, and despite having a larger fleet, Cleopatra and Antony were decisively defeated. The reasons for their defeat were complex. Antony's forces were plagued by desertions. and his battle plans were hampered by indecision and delays. Cleopatra's fleet, while powerful, was ultimately outmaneuvered by Octavian's admiral, Agrippa. The defeat at Actium was a disaster for Cleopatra and Antony. They managed to escape to Egypt, but their forces were shattered and their dreams of an Eastern empire lay in ruins. Octavian, triumphant, prepared to deliver the final blow. In 30 BC, Octavian's forces invaded Egypt, meeting little resistance. Antony, facing defeat and despair, committed suicide. Cleopatra, unwilling to be paraded through the streets of Rome as a captive in Octavian's triumph, also chose to end her own life. The exact circumstances of Cleopatra's death are shrouded in mystery and legend. The most famous account claims that she died from a venomous snakebite, allowing an asp to bite her. Other accounts suggest she may have used a poisoned hairpin or other means. Regardless of the method, Cleopatra's death on August 12, 30 BC, marked the end of the Ptolemaic dynasty and the absorption of Egypt into the Roman Empire. Octavian, now the undisputed master of the Roman world, had achieved his goal, but at a high cost. Cleopatra, in death, had denied him the ultimate victory of capturing her alive. Her legend, however, would live on, ensuring her place in history as one of the most captivating and controversial figures of the ancient world. Cleopatra's story has captivated imaginations for centuries. She has been the subject of countless works of art, literature and film, her image transformed and reinterpreted through the lens of different cultures and historical periods. Was she a ruthless seductress who used her charms to manipulate powerful men, or a shrewd and capable ruler who fought to preserve her kingdom in a time of turmoil? The truth, as is often the case with historical figures, likely lies somewhere in between these extremes. Cleopatra's legacy is complex and multifaceted. She was the last pharaoh of Egypt, a queen who navigated the treacherous waters of Roman politics with intelligence and determination. She was a lover, a mother, and a ruler who left an indelible mark on history. Her story, a blend of political intrigue, passionate romance, and ultimate tragedy, continues to fascinate and inspire, ensuring that Cleopatra's legend will endure for generations to come.